Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're like us, you've probably heard endless debates about generative AI. Either it's, going to fix everything, or it's going to cause some kind of immediate superintelligence apocalypse.
Yeah, the narratives are pretty extreme, aren't they?
Totally. So today, we're ignoring both of those extremes. We are diving past the prophecies and the hype to look at the immediate, tangible reality of generative AI's impact right now.
On actual work, how we find information, how businesses are trying to use it.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Our sources today give us three surprising and sometimes, well, kind of shocking perspectives.
Okay.
We've got a firsthand account of some pretty exploitative AI labor practices. Then there's hard data on how AI is fundamentally changing, like the economics of the internet.
Right, what you click on, essentially.
Yeah. And finally, cold, hard proof that the vast majority of corporate AI projects, they're actually failing.
So the mission for this deep dive is really to trace the flow of control and maybe the friction points.
Yeah.
We're going to try and connect the dots between how these models are built, often, frankly, on the backs of pretty precarious workers, how consumer trust shifts when they encounter these things, and, why so many big organizations are struggling to deploy this tech successfully.
Is the challenge the tech itself, or is it more about how it's being rolled out?
That's the core question, I think. Is it the technology, or is it just fundamentally flawed deployment strategies?
Okay, so let's start right at the source.
Yeah.
The invisible human labor that made the chatbots capable in the first place. We have this really powerful firsthand account from one of the taskers.
The gig workers.
Yeah, the gig workers who spent like 18 months training these large AI models.
And what's fascinating here is the kind of brain power these companies were after. They recruited postgraduates, via LinkedIn, promised them well-paid, flexible work, and the author's motivation, kind of a know-your-enemy impulse.
Ah, interesting. They wanted to understand the machine they were maybe a bit worried about.
Exactly. Even as Silicon Valley was, warning everyone else about AI escaping human control, they wanted to see it from the inside.
And initially, the pay seemed decent for that level of expertise. I think they got something for onboarding.
Yeah, they got $350 for the first, 7 or 8 hours of paid onboarding.
Right.
But the work itself, it wasn't simple stuff. It was serious technical writing.
Not just clicking boxes.
No, definitely not. The work was incredibly complex. Their job was to create these sophisticated prompts, prompts that forced the chatbot to interpret data or reason, maybe solve puzzles. They really focused on what they call multi-turn tasks.
Right, so tasks where the AI has to remember the conversation, like context over several steps.
Exactly, like a real conversation, really challenging stuff.
And then, after writing the prompt, they had to write the perfect, ideal human response the model should aim for. That sounds like high-level curriculum design.
It's heavy lifting, absolutely, and this is where the labor issue really comes in. Despite doing this complex, often team-based work, they were treated purely as gig workers, no employee protections.
So, under constant pressure, metrics and things.
Oh, yeah. Constant scrutiny from oppressive metrics, often contradictory ones. Actually, they have to be high quality and super fast.
That sounds stressful. What did that mean for them day to day?
It meant extreme precarity. If the special platform they used glitched out, or if they timed out on a complex task, they could lose hours of work, valuable work, unpaid, just because the clock ran out.
Wow. Unpaid work lost just like that.
Yep. And just as bad, the internal environment was, volatile. Instructions for the AI models would change drastically without warning.
Oh, no. So they'd have to redo things.
Massive amounts of work sometimes. And their support staff, the source mentions a friendly contact named Dana. They were only one rung above them.
Right.
And they often got furloughed suddenly. No explanation, just gone.
Okay, here's where it gets, for me, really maddening. The pay. It didn't stay good, did it?
Not at all. The compensation just eroded. Systematically dropped in $5 increments.
$5 increments.
Yeah. The author tracked it falling from $40 an hour, which sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's decent.
Down to $25. And eventually, it settled at just $14 an hour for the actual time spent working.
$14 an hour. For postgraduate level complex technical writing.
Exactly. You see a perfect illustration, really, of how these powerful organizations prioritize speed of model development over the stability and fair treatment of the human workers actually building it.
So the author's takeaway wasn't about rogue AI.
No, their conclusion is that the real danger isn't some, sentient AI escaping human control. That's the flashy narrative.
Right.
The real danger is the handful of billionaires, as they put it, who control this tech and kind of foist it on us, showing this constant disregard for the workers who build it.
It's a really compelling argument that the focus on this existential AI threat is actually a distraction.
A misdirection, yeah. Designed to maybe discourage pushback against the current, often flawed structure of how corporations are deploying it.
Keeps the attention away from the real decisions being made now.
Precisely. Away from the powerful institutions making actual labor and safety choices today.
Okay, so we've looked at the people building the AI.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's pivot to, well, the rest of us, the consumers encountering the output every day, like in our search results.
Yes, Google's AI overviews.
Yeah, this feels like it's fundamentally altering how we get information online.
It's absolutely critical because it's not theoretical anymore. It's happening right now. Pew Research data from early 2025 showed that 18%, roughly 1 in 5 Google searches, produced an AI summary right there at the top.
18%.
Yeah.
And that summary changes what people do next.
Dramatically. It significantly changed user behavior.
How significant? I mean, the source mentioned click rates dropping, but what does that really mean for the web?
Well, you're right to ask. That specific changed the click rate on the traditional blue links, dropping from 15% down to just 8% when a summary appeared.
Okay, 15 down to 8.
That represents nearly a 50% loss of audience traffic for the websites, the content creators, the publishers relying on search.
Wow. 50%. The summary is basically cutting them out.
It seems like it. It's bypassing the need to visit the original source. And get this. If you looked specifically for the source cited within that summary,
Yeah.
that happened in only 1% of visits. People weren't clicking through even when the source was named.
So the summary just answers the question, and that's it. Game over for the original site.
It suggests that, yeah, it's kind of an information killer for the established economic model of the content web.
And does it make people leave Google faster?
It does. Users were significantly more likely to just end their browsing session entirely after seeing a summary. That happened 26% of the time.
Compared to
Only 16% of the time when only the traditional links showed up. So yeah, they got what they needed from the summary and just left.
That's a huge consolidation of information power.
Yeah.
What kind of sites are actually feeding these summaries? Is it just like random blogs?
No, actually, there are some interesting patterns. The most frequently cited sources overall are still the big ones: Wikipedia, YouTube, and Reddit.
Okay.
Collectively, they accounted for about 15% of the cited sources in the summaries Pew looked at. But here's an unexpected difference.
Yeah.
Government websites, .gov sites, they get cited significantly more often in AI summaries. About 6% of the time.
6%. Compared to what in normal search?
Compared to only appearing in standard search results about 2% of the time.
Huh. That's actually maybe a good sign. Like the AI is prioritizing official, non-commercial sources for summaries.
It could suggest that, yeah. Maybe the model's trying to find the official answer, not just the most popular or SEO-optimized one.
Do we know what kinds of searches trigger these summaries most?
We do. It tends to be the more complex queries. So 60% of searches that are phrased as a question get a summary.
Makes sense.
53% of searches that use 10 or more words, and 36% of searches that use full sentences. It seems designed to tackle nuance.
Speaking of nuance, let's talk about public perception. Because the public seems, well, maybe okay with AI in the background, until they realize it was involved in something they value.
Right, and then there's this potential for a massive trust deficit.
Yeah.
It raises that interesting question, when does just knowing AI was involved turn something good into something less good? Pew Research found Americans had the strongest negative reactions when AI was used in tasks tied to, like, human judgment, public trust, or high stakes.
And the biggest negative reaction wasn't even art or music, surprisingly. It was politics and news.
Absolutely. The skepticism there is profound. 71%, nearly 3/4 of U.S. adults, said they'd like a political candidate less if they found out AI helped write a speech they initially liked.
Wow, okay.
And 56% would react negatively if they learned an informative news article they'd read was actually written by AI.
I sort of expected the arts to be where people got most protective, creativity and all that.
The arts were more mixed, actually, which suggests maybe a real internal conflict in the public mind.
Awesome.
Well, if you found out a painting you liked was made by AI, 49% said they'd like it less. But almost the same number, 48%, said their view wouldn't change.
Okay, so almost perfectly split. What about music?
With music, the divide was even wider. A majority, 58%, said their view wouldn't change if a song they liked was AI generated.
Huh.
But still, a significant chunk, 38%, said they would like it less. So it's complex.
What's really fascinating, though, is the age difference here. You often hear that younger people just accept all new tech.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
No, it was pretty much the opposite. Adults under 30 were significantly more critical of AI in creative fields than older adults.
Really? Like how much more critical?
Get this.
Okay.
66%, two-thirds of the under 30 group reacted negatively to finding out a painting was AI generated.
Compared to?
Compared to only 36% of those 65 and older. It really suggests younger generations might be more protective of human originality, maybe seeing AI art as diluting the value of human artists.
That's counterintuitive, but really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get to the slightly doom and gloom business section, was there any scenario where people actually liked AI involvement?
Yes, there was one positive outlier. Healthcare. 13% of Americans said they would actually feel better about a doctor's promising treatment plan if they learned AI had recommended it.
Okay, so some trust there, maybe where complex data analysis is needed.
It shows a degree of trust, yes.
Yeah.
But we have to temper that 45% still felt worse even in that scenario. So trust is still pretty volatile across the board.
Right. Okay, that sets the stage perfectly for our final and honestly most shocking section, the business reality of Gen AI deployment. Because we hear about unstoppable corporate adoption, massive budgets.
Yeah, the hype is huge.
But the numbers, they seem to tell a story of, well, systemic failure.
They really do. According to this MIT 2025 report, nearly 95% of generative AI pilots fail to deliver measurable business value.
Wait, hang on. 95%? Are we sure that number isn't, like, inflated by companies just testing tiny little things to say they're doing AI? That sounds unbelievably high.
It is staggering, I agree. But the report specifies failure at the pilot stage. That means attempts to prove the concept actually works and delivers value, potentially at scale.
Okay, so not just playing around. These are serious attempts.
Right. The failure isn't necessarily that the tech can't do something in a lab. It's the inability to achieve clear, defined, measurable business value in a real-world setting.
Meaning the project didn't hit its goals, or couldn't scale, or just cost too much.
All of the above. Failed to hit the goal, failed to scale effectively, or failed to achieve a positive ROI return on investment. It just didn't pay off.
So if the tech basically works on paper, why the terrible failure rate when companies try to use it?
It generally comes down to poor planning and management, not poor coding.
Like what?
Well, common pitfalls include wildly unrealistic expectations, fueled by all the hype, big scaling challenges. What works in a small proof of concept rarely translates easily to a huge enterprise because of cost, infrastructure limits, messy old legacy systems.
And data. I hear data is always an issue.
Critical. Poor data quality is huge. Companies often think they just need more data, but really they need better, cleaner, well-governed data. And weak oversight, not enough human in the loop.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Give us some memorable examples of these failures. Maybe start with something high stakes, like legal tech.
Right. This is where human in the loop isn't just a nice to have, it's like professional survival.
Because of hallucinations. AI making stuff up.
Exactly. Without strong human oversight, the risk of hallucination becomes a massive legal liability. We saw lawyers actually get sanctioned by courts.
Oh, wow. For what?
For citing completely fabricated case law generated by AI. Specifically, 3 attorneys in New York were sanctioned. They cited 8 non-existent cases in legal filings, things like Mata v. Avianca and Wadsworth v. Walmart, cases that just didn't exist.
Oh my God. Imagine standing in front of a judge, having based your argument on fake cases made up by a chatbot. The efficiency gain is just wiped out.
Totally wiped out by the reputational and legal damage. And retail chatbots have had similarly public, really embarrassing disasters when those guardrails failed.
I remember the Chevy dealership one, where the chatbot was tricked into offering to sell a ridiculously expensive SUV for $1.
That's the one. A perfect example. It highlights the lack of proper integration and governance. The bot wasn't just giving bad info. It was making, legally actionable promises.
And Air Canada, too?
Yep. Air Canada was actually held liable in court because its chatbot gave a customer misleading advice about a bereavement discount. These failures really prove that rolling out AI without rigorously testing every possible weird edge case can lead to serious financial and PR headaches.
Even McDonald's couldn't crack it, right? The
Yeah.
drive-through AI.
No, even McDonald's, the absolute kings of optimizing global processes, ended their big AI drive-through pilot with IBM.
Why? They tested it a lot, didn't they?
Yeah, over 100 locations. But the system really struggled. Background noise, different accents, complex orders. It just confused the AI too easily.
Leading to those viral mistakes people shared online.
Exactly. Bacon added to ice cream, like 9 iced teas instead of 1, random packets of ketchup and butter turning up. It failed because it couldn't reliably do the job better or cheaper than a human.
So, no measurable ROI.
No measurable ROI needed for a massive global deployment. And finally, think about creative agencies. They thought AI would be this magic bullet for content.
Save time and money.
That was the hope. But what happens often gets called AI theater.
AI theater, meaning
Meaning the tech could generate content quickly, sure. But to get it to the quality standard clients actually expect, it needed extensive human editing and review afterward.
so it didn't actually save work.
Quite the opposite sometimes. It didn't reduce work layers, it added new review layers. Clients were disappointed, internal morale dropped, and the projects failed because they were trying to replace a nuanced workflow poorly, not genuinely augment human creativity.
Okay, so if we step back and try to summarize the big themes from this deep dive, what have we got?
Well, first, the very foundation of a lot of this generative AI rests on, frankly, exploited, low-paid, but highly skilled taskers. People whose pay got slashed from $40 down to $14 an hour.
Right. Second, the way we all consume information online is rapidly consolidating. AI summaries are bypassing original sources, shaking up the whole web economy.
And third, despite all the hype and investment, huge corporate AI projects are largely stalling out. That shocking 95% failure rate in pilots, mostly due to governance, integration, and basic planning problems.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, the sources together seem to argue pretty strongly that we need to shift our focus, move away from the sci-fi idea of an inevitable, unstoppable AI future.
And look at what's happening now.
Exactly. Look at the critical decisions being made today. Decisions about labor protection, about user experience, about strategic, realistic implementation. The tech isn't some unstoppable force. It's a tool. And its impact depends entirely on human decisions about how it's deployed and overseen.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought, maybe. We're constantly told, often by the very institutions building this tech, that we have to urgently embrace AI or we'll be left behind.
That's the narrative, yeah. Embrace or perish.
But if these systems rely on precarious gig labor, if they centralize information control even further, and if they have a 95% failure rate when businesses actually try to implement them properly, is the promised inevitability of mass job displacement really a technological certainty?
Or is it perhaps a convenient narrative? One designed to discourage questions or push back against the current, very flawed deployment structure that benefits a few powerful players.
That's definitely something to keep exploring.
Indeed. We really encourage you to check out the source material yourself and, keep questioning the narratives you hear about AI.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.